you're anything like me, sometimes you want a little bit of extra action on an upcoming game that you're going to watch. But of course, if you're going to be betting on a game, chances are you want to win. Wouldn't it be nice to have an expert advisor in your corner telling you what the best bet is to make and your odds of winning that bet? Well, with Edge Sports, you get all of that in a simplified platform that will advise you what are the best bets to make for upcoming games. So it's wildcard weekend, and I really want some extra action this week just to make things a little bit more interesting. So I go to edgesports.com. Right away, when you get to the homepage, you could see that they have NCAA men's matchups, they have NCAA football matchups, the matchup between Ohio State and Alabama over here. I'm going to go and select the NFL tab up here and go to NFL Home. I think the best opportunity we have to make a fairly good bet for ourselves is probably Baltimore versus Tennessee, because you never know who's going to win between those two. At least I don't know. So you get to the main page between the Baltimore Ravens and the Tennessee Titans, and here you see something called GWC. Well, this is your game-winning chance. This is a team's win probability, and it's generated from Edge Sports' simulation model, which simulates each game 400,000 times. So right here, out of 400,000 simulations, the Baltimore Ravens won 56.6% of those simulations, whereas the Tennessee Titans won 43.4% of those simulations. Now, if you scroll down a little bit more, say if you want to see who's the most likely to cover the spread, well, it looks like, according to these analytics, it has the Tennessee Titans with a 48% chance to cover the spread when they did those simulations, whereas the Baltimore Ravens only have 43% chance to cover. So what if you want to bet the over-under? Well, Edge Sports has a remarkable tool for that as well. You can see we're starting out over here with 54 total points, assuming that we're trying to bet the under. The market line is 55.5. So say if you want to bet the over in this situation, well, as you go to the right, Edge Sports continues to change the probability of the over and under outcomes. And this could be a fantastic tool in the event that the lines get changed, or if you just want to see what the probability is that an over under occurs. Now, if you click my link in the description, you will get a 14-day free trial. And if you use my promo code Mikerophone, you'll get 50% off of all subscriptions as well. That's again, promo code Mikerophone for 50% off on all subscriptions as well. And thank you, Edge Sports, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Guys, about 2 months ago, I told you about the possibility of the Atlanta Falcons moving on from Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. And let's just say that a lot of you guys either A, didn't believe it, or 2, really hated me for the fact that I would even stir up such a crazy rumor. Nevertheless, it appears as though these rumors have been confirmed. Although, despite them being confirmed, even though the Atlanta Falcons do wish to shop Julio Jones and Matt Ryan, I want you to understand that the odds of this ever happening are slim to none, mainly because of the amount of money both of these players are owed. We're talking about a player, Matt Ryan, who is slated to count $41 million against the cap in 2021, with Julio Jones sitting at $23.05 million against the cap. And although the Atlanta Falcons definitely have a unique opportunity to draft their quarterback of the future this year, I feel like not only would that be extremely impulsive, but that would also be a waste of a NFL draft pick that's falling in the top 5. If you look at the overall draft order, I'm going to give you a mini mock draft over here. The number 1 overall pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars is probably, well, definitely going to be Trevor Lawrence. The number 2 overall pick by the New York Jets could be anywhere from a quarterback like Justin Fields. It wouldn't surprise me if the New York Jets went wide receiver with the number 2 overall pick, or opted to select a quarterback as well. I expect the Miami Dolphins to take Penei Sewell to fill the void that Laramie Tunsil left, which gives the Atlanta Falcons the number 4 overall pick. A lot of Atlanta Falcons fans want the Falcons to make the sexy and fun pick and draft Zach Wilson or Justin Fields or a new quarterback with the number 4 overall spot. But the fact of the matter is, I'm sorry that you want a brand new quarterback, Atlanta, but your problems aren't offensive whatsoever. Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, that offense is actually a pretty freaking good offense. It's the defensive side of the ball that the Atlanta Falcons are having issues at. So they're in a good situation to draft Greg Rousseau over here. Now, if they opt to go defense with the number 4 overall pick, which I really hope the new general manager of the Atlanta Falcons is smart enough to do so, it doesn't make much sense to move on from Matt Ryan. Not only that, but no one's going to want to trade for Matt Ryan when you could trade for a player like Carson Wentz, who's actually cheaper and younger and could actually be the face of your franchise. Deshaun Watson has more recently been rumored to want to trade as well. It just doesn't make sense for the Atlanta Falcons to trade Matt Ryan or Julio Jones. But here's what Arthur Blank had to say when he was asked whether or not the Falcons would be open to even trading Matt Ryan or Julio Jones. And he said it has a lot to do with who he hires as the general manager. And I'll dive into an analysis about what he's saying right after I tell you what he says. So this is according to the Atlanta Falcons team's website. When Arthur Blank was asked if he'd be okay with the Falcons moving on from franchise stars like Matt Ryan or Julio Jones, he said, "You cannot hire the very best people you can hire, whether it be general managers or head coaches, and then tie their hands and tell them, well, this person is off limits and that person's off limits and so is that one. What you're asking them for, which is not off limits and needs to be probed deeply. Do they have a championship plan? Do they have a plan on turning around the franchise sooner rather than later so we're winning in 2021? Do we have a plan that's sustainable over a long period of time so we can make sure this team is competitive, not just for the next year or two, but over a longer period of time than that? However, that affects certain players. It affects certain players. So this is clearly implying, yes, we will trade them if that is what we have to do. Blank also continues on to say, I think it's a mistake for an owner to lay out a set of dictates like that for a general manager and head coach. If I was a general manager or head coach considering this opportunity and I heard an owner say that, to me, I'd be a little nervous because I think that's crossing a line for me that I don't believe an owner should ever cross. As a Cowboys fan, I really wish Jerry Jones would pay attention to this interview because, he likes to micromanage here and there. What Arthur Blank is saying isn't necessarily, hey, we're definitely going to trade Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. I think the only example I could give you here, and the best example I could give you here, is what happened with Miami recently. You see, Miami hired Brian Flores, and immediately in the very beginning, they seemed to be a horrible team. Minkah Fitzpatrick wanted out. Certain players did not want to play for the franchise. And as a result, you saw Brian Flores trading Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a first-round pick, trading Laramie Tunsil to the Houston Texans for multiple first-round picks. So I believe what Arthur Blank is saying is if we need to move on from franchise cornerstones in order to catalyze our rebuild, then we'll do that. But here's the difference. Laramie Tunsil and Minkah Fitzpatrick didn't have the contracts that Matt Ryan and Julio Jones have. If you ask me, the best thing you can do is focus on the defensive side of the ball, get the Falcons the help they need on defense, draft well defensively, hire a good head coach. I think the perfect head coach for this team is probably Eric Bieniemy. He'd probably know what to do with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones to try to tap into what they're best at. So if I am the Atlanta Falcons here, I'm going edge with my first round pick, and then I'm going center with my second round pick, or cornerback with my second round pick. I'm going to trade Matt Ryan or Julio Jones if the opportunity arises, but I'm not going to be really searching for a trade partner for those two players because I feel like if they were to support them a little bit better on the defensive side of the ball, they'll be extremely successful. But this is my take, guys. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think? Do you think the Atlanta Falcons should trade Matt Ryan or Julio Jones? Do you think it's even possible? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.